Darren Banther.
The founding of Farristown dates back to 1835. It seems to have been named for the three sets of Ferris families who lived in the area: Charlie, Arthur, Henry Joe. Middletown is a few years younger and acquired its name because of its location between Farristown and Berea. Both areas are part of the historic Black Valley, described in 1866 by A.M.A. minister and Berea teacher John A.R. Rogers. Because of hundreds of freemen walking or in rickety carts saw Berea as their land of promise. That quote came from Early History of Black Berea website. Some of y'all might be familiar with that. Good evening, everyone. My name is Aaron Banther, and today we're going to be discussing the Farristown community. I was kind of getting a little dim in here, but by a show of hands, how many of y'all have heard of Farristown? Show of hands. Leave your hands up. Hands up. All right. How many of y'all have a pretty good solid foundation of what the community of Farristown is all about? Put your hands down. Family coming in right here. Hey, good to see you. Farristown is one of the historic Black hamlets that surround Berea, Kentucky, and it goes back to the mid-1800s. But as we go through this lesson, what I want you to do is I want you to keep your mind, keep it in your heart, is family and unity. Understand? Because it's very, very important. And for you to understand Farristown, you got to understand those two things: family and unity. Also, this is pre and post slavery times, right? We are free, okay, which is a really great thing. But we've been slaves for so long. What do we do? Where do we go? How do we live? So to some degree, we kind of rely on the master. What was that journey like as communities like Farristown, Bobtown, and Middletown started? Before we get into this lesson, as Sharon alluded to in the beginning, I'd like to give a quick introduction of myself. Slide. All right, good. My name is Aaron Banther. I was born on April 11th, 1978. Yes, I am a young man. My family origin, my mother, I'm a descendant of actually Sam White. Y'all know the history, the slave Sam White that goes back to Virginia. Frederick Watts is also rooted from the Bennett family. I grew up the majority of my childhood in Farristown. I was raised by my grandmother, Pauline Banther. Y'all familiar with Chapel Road, which you want to talk about. That White House is where I grew up. There on the Chapel Road. We actually tore that down years back. My father's family, where the origin is, my grandmother was Wren Jenkins. He married James Tut Payton, whose parents were Robert and Hattie Payton. Some of y'all might have heard of Paytontown. Some of y'all might have heard of Dr. Ann Payton. Ann Payton was the first African-American woman who graduated from Eastern Kentucky University with a bachelor's degree. That's my aunt. That's actually my dad's sister. And if y'all heard, she actually recently passed away, so I want to dedicate this lesson to her. She's very smart, very just a historian herself. Me and her was supposed to get together. She was hearing what I was doing in the community. She's very proud, and we was going to get together. And then I got a phone call from work all the way on my way home to Lexington, and heard she passed. But she's still with me today. Education, I did graduate from Berea Community High School in 1996. I've also earned a bachelor's degree in workforce education, and I got it developed from Southern Illinois University. As you can see there, I retired as a Naval Chief Petty Officer, did 22 years back to service, and I'm actually now a contracting specialist there at the depot. I'm married for 15 years, my wife Jamie, she's there in the crowd. My little girl Jayla right there with the iPad. You know, these kids these days. I don't see Elijah, he's right somewhere. Then Keenan, my son is back. He's a freshman at Frederick Douglass High School. He's doing his homework. Very proud of him. All right, so here are the topics we want to discuss. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about Farristown's origin. What was Farristown? You know, how did it start? How did it come about? We're going to talk about some of the families of Farristown. Who were the families of Farristown? Where did they come from? How many families were there? How many families lived in Farristown? and we're going to talk about some of the individuals. We're going to talk about Farristown culture. What is the culture in Farristown? What are our values? What are our religious beliefs? How do we live? We're going to talk about the Married Workers Club. Who were the Married Workers Club and what impact did they have in the community? We're going to touch upon the Baxter General Store and why that was such a staple in the community. Of course, I'm going to talk about my Farristown Preservation Project, and this is kind of ultimately why I got up here tonight. Oops. Farristown, Kentucky, said to be founded in 1835 and named after the Ferris families that occupied the area. As the Civil War ended, Blacks were set free, more Blacks came to the community and was able to purchase land that came from the influence of John G. Fee. So there was a lot of influence there when John G. Fee came into Berea. But I actually think that it was influence before when you talk about Cassius Clay. A lot of influence, a lot of opportunities for Blacks, African Americans to own land. So I believe that ideology of John Fee and Cassius Clay actually stretch. So because when we get this lesson, whites also helped us get land and own. John Fee's principles and influence of Berea, formerly known as the Glades, Black hamlets emerged outside the city. So you got other communities other than Farristown. You got Bobtown, Middletown, Farristown, and Paytontown. Again, Berea was known as the Glades. We go back, there's a heavy Black population here in the county. It's 34%. I'm just now learning that. This is stuff that that we didn't talk about in school. Of all the communities, Farristown, Bobtown, Middletown, and Paytontown, Farristown is actually the largest, and it's got the most families. But Bobtown is the oldest, founded in 1769. Middletown is named basically a location between Farristown and the city of Berea. All right. So this is a Google map of Farristown that I was able to get. I'm going to show you this map, about 2 or 3 more times. You're probably going to get tired of looking at it, but there's a reason for it. There's a method to my madness. Okay, so if you can see there, Farristown, you got Chapel Road. I'm going to kind of step in here. I got to get on my comfort zone a little bit. So Chapel Road is actually where that White House was at. Okay, it's actually where I grew up at. Okay, this is Millis Road. Okay, this is the main strip, as I like to call it. Okay, and you got all this land right here. You got Mayhew Road. If you're familiar with Farristown or Berea, this is where the factories are at. Okay, Farristown Middle School is located about right here. Farristown, Kentucky origin. It has been documented that there were 3 sets of Ferris families. But based on the interviews and research that I conducted, there's only 2 sets of Ferris families that was in Farristown. It's been, legend has it, that Farristown started with Charlie Ferris and Henry Ferris. There's 2 separate men from 2 separate families that share the last name. What the confusion is, me growing up there, you had so many Ferris families, but Charlie, doing the research I've done, he actually married twice. Okay, his first wife was Elizabeth Gates. Okay, she passed away, and then Elizabeth Gates, he had a Joseph Speed Ferris, and then he married Betty Cornelison. Okay, Betty Cornelison. We got 2 Ferris men here in the crowd right now. That's the lineage that they come from. And he had children by both spouses, and they stayed right in the community. So where did these Ferris men come from? It was founded in 1835, and I think where that came from is pretty much the birth certificate that I saw on Ancestry. Legend has it that the Ferris men actually came with John Fee. One of them was a blacksmith. Jeanette Ferris, who's a relative of ours, said that her grandparents were slaves, okay, which would be Charlie Ferris. But I heard the most interesting thing about where these Ferris men came from, how Farristown got about. There's a slave owner named Michael Ferris. Okay, Michael Ferris owned slaves. If you look on the slave census records, he's listed as having slaves. Him and his brother, Michael Jr., okay, lived not too far from Farristown. Well, anyway, the legend has it that Michael Jr. Had slave kids, and as things came close, you know, the influence of John Fee and everything, you know, he said, if you cut away, I will give you land. And that's what they did. That's what these Farrish men did. They cut away all the lumber and they made a home for themselves. It makes sense to me. It's a pretty interesting story. Then I came across this article from family of William Boucher and Millie Ferris. Okay, this is a long written article, okay, written by Mr. Jerry Long. And in that article, he talks about Michael Ferris and his son, and how both of his both father and son owned slaves. All right, then I kind of went deeper, and if you look at chapter 2 of that article, okay, it kind of goes in depth of the Ferris family and Michael Ferris. It's pretty interesting that I saw there in the beginning in the old Madison County Census, there are numerous spelling variations of the last name Ferris. I ain't got to say it, you can see it right there. But I'm gonna go ahead and read this to you. Michael Ferris Jr. is first found in Madison County tax book in 1811. He was the first accessed land in 1818. On 17 August 1818, the heirs of John Snooty Sr. sold to Michael 108 acres on Snooty Forks of Silver Creek. Part of the land is originally granted to William Dryden. 102. In addition to this, Madison tax list of 1821, 1823 showed Michael was only a tract of about 103 to 126 acres on Paint Lick and Garrett County, which adjoins the Madison County on the west. Michael was listed in 1820, 1830, 1840, and 1850 census of Madison County. Beginning in 1821, the tax list shows Michael as owning slaves. In that year, he was taxed on 3 slaves. In 1828, he had 6. The 1850 census slave schedule Madison County lists 2 Ferris. Michael owned 13 slaves. 9 of the males and Michael Jr.'s son, Jonathan, had 4 slaves, 2 of the males. 1 of 3, a settlement of black families later lived in what was called Farristown, located a short distance south of where Michael Ferris Sr. and Jr. had lived. Okay, and that's the source that I got that information from down in Bible. So it's pretty interesting. Okay, but I think it still leaves for interpretation. Sharon Mitchell has been a good friend of mine since I started this project, and I know that this Michael Ferris, you know, has deeds close to Farristown. So I called her. I said, look, I want to go to the courthouse and look at deeds and whatnot. Never looked at, you know, I'm not a genealogist. I'm not a history guy like that. I just jumped into stuff and started doing this. So, and I'm looking there, you know, I'm thinking I'm going to be there like an hour. That's a lot of work. I mean, that's a lot. I'm about to go to Amazon and give you a magnifying glass too, because I ain't read the cursive in so long. It's going to take me all day to do that. But, you know, we're still working that. I know history is open to interpretation a lot of times, but I like to try to nail it as much as I can. Back to this map again, okay? Now, remember, got the main strip right here on top. Chapel Road. Okay, Manny Road with the factories. Okay, some of y'all familiar with Farristown. The church, Farristown Baptist Church, is about right here. Okay, then we got an old cemetery that's right here as well. This is the map, Madison County map of land ownership in 1876. You know, I thought I saw it up there. Some of y'all familiar with this. Look at this. Again, this is the main strip. And what do we see? We see Charlie Ferris, Stephen Ferris, his brother. You got Miller, another Ferris. On the other side of Chapel Road, where I grew up at, a lot of whites. Okay, a lot of white descendants. Okay, if you notice up here, this is McWilliams land, Michael. These are white families. Okay, and we believe that it was folks like this, Williams and Martin, that helped us purchase the land. Blacks just weren't walking up to the courthouse back in the day. Like I said, there was influence, there was help. Okay, if you know the history of Farristown Baptist Church, Martin actually helped, you know, build the church, started purchasing land so they can build it. So there's a lot of influence there. All right, as years went on, blacks are free, and they heard about this place called Farristown, and they started coming in. They started coming in. More black peoples and more came in, and more united in marriage. Former slaves again heard about this place, and these families are dropping babies. They got a lot of kids. I'm just from my research. I ain't trying to be funny, it's the truth. But when I looked at Farristown at one point had about 40 to 50 households at one time. And here's all the Farristown surnames. And if I forget anybody, somebody's probably watching on Zoom, please forgive me. Okay. I also got a couple of white families on there again, which is more kind of interracial community. But a lot of families there. Man, back to this map again. Why is he doing this map? Well, Miss Sharon Gray said, hey, my folks like maps, so we're going to bring the maps. Okay, and I ain't got to step in front of it again. You see it? So imagine that. And then look at this. Does anybody want to kind of take a shot at what they're seeing here?
Railroad.
All right. That's where people are. All right. So I just got back from DC last week, talked to a descendant, Foster Mundy. And there's Ethel Merriweather. I want to talk about her in a few. But she drew this up. Ethel was 97 years old. And these are all the families at that time too that live in Farristown. I'm gonna step in a little bit here. You can see some of these names. Some of y'all are probably familiar with a lot of these names too. We're going to talk about the Baxter store. This is the main strip that I was talking about. This is the main strip. The Baxter store was right here. Okay. All these little lines right here, these were lanes. Okay. Some of us got property there now. You can see the remains of the lane. You can see the remains of the house if you walk back there today. Okay. Got the railroad, got the bridge, and if you go on top here, this is more Chapel Lane right here. And on that corner, Dave Bennett family, Lucy Clay. All right, that's all my folks right there, and it just keeps going. Okay, so a lot of families there at one time. Pretty cool, right? Farristown community. So what was the culture like? It was a beautiful, striving community. Striving, I mean, we had to. Okay, we was a self-sustaining community. We had to. We had a farm. We had to take care of ourselves. Sometimes folks say we need to strap on bootstraps. That's what we did. In that community, we were strapping on bootstraps. It was self-sustaining. Okay, we love the Lord. We're a Christian community. Okay, you raise in Farristown, you go to church. You're going to church. You're going to Sunday school. Okay, everyone was your parent. Everyone was your parent. You did something wrong, another parent might get on to you. Okay, I remember one time, I don't know if y'all know Marilyn Martin, she's at the sheriff's office, but I was about 10 years old at the time. I was inside of Farristown Church in the front. There's an old lady, she was a Sunday school teacher. Her name was Miss Sally Walker. So I was talking to my cousin, and I forgot how the conversation went, but I said, hey, go talk to Sally. Marilyn said, hey, it's Miss Sally Walker. I said, yes, ma'am. And for those 2 seconds, I still remember how that felt like, because I felt so small. But that's how it was. Like everybody held you accountable. Ain't that right, Miss Soul? Everybody held you accountable. We was protected in Farristown. We didn't worry about lynchings or white supremacists or anything like that. I think I got his name right. Dude Cochran was a sheriff there that lived off White Station. So I mean, we was really protected. You can go outside at night and walk. As a kid, I used to walk to my cousin Donovan's house and we played ball. Nobody ever messed with me. So it was great. We also had a shared love with other Black families. We didn't have a nose there, and we had sister churches, right? Sister churches in Liberty, Middletown, Liberty's in Bobtown and stuff like that, because they were our families too. So we was all really, really close and connected. We were a Black hamlet, but make no mistake about it, we are an interracial community. Okay, we work together, we farm together, we even worship together. Stuff you don't see these days, but they did it. And how can I forget the soulful cuisine? Some good eating out there at Farristown. You go to a church rally, I'm telling you, the best eating that you're gonna have We used to have a hog roast every year. Mr. Hare brought us kill a hog. I believe that's who it was, and he'd smoke a hog every year and fed the whole community, and everybody came. It's great. Remember that slide I had before? Now, Farristown, February 16, 2023, today. So it's pretty cut. These are the landowners. And again, if I forgot anybody, please forgive me, but it's small. Okay, so what happened? What happened to all those families? Well, folks moved. Okay, there's better opportunities up north. People sold their land. Okay, but there are still landowners, descendants there today, including me, the Bennett's. I'm telling you what, I ain't selling. I ain't going nowhere. This is my home. That's what we talking about now. We ain't going nowhere. You're gonna take my life. Sorry. I'm just passionate about my community. Okay. But if you are just only counting the residents, the actual residents, you're gonna cut that half again. These are just landowners. Through my Farristown project, I have done, I'm sorry, I'm at my next slide here. All right. I'm working on a project conducting oral history. And this is granted by the Kentucky Historical Society, Barrett College, and repository. So I'm going around and getting some of that narration, some of that history. Okay, so far I've done 7 families, and I'll try to share just a little bit of that. But these 3 ladies right here, I love them to death. Rashada, Cheryl, Michelle, this is actually the first family I've done. And they're descendants of Charlie Ferris through this wife, Elizabeth Gates. And these ladies love Farristown, love Farristown. They love their family, but they adore their grandparents. Moss Ferris, Mary Rice Ferris, some of y'all might have heard about her, and we'll get to that in a minute. These sisters are headstrong. So you imagine I was up there in Cincinnati, and that interview went for like an hour and a half. But it was great. Really enjoyed talking to them. And this is their family. This is 4 generations of Ferris. Okay, again, this is Charlie Ferris and Elizabeth Gates. He had a son, Joseph Speed Ferris. Comes from Joseph. He married Mary Jenkins Ferris. They had 3 boys and 3 girls total. Okay. From the left there, you got Jerry Ferris, a woman in a black dress, Miss Hicks. I remember Miss Hicks when I was young. Okay. You got their father, Richard Harris. Okay. And then right there holding a baby, that's Rashada, one that went on our interview. And his older is their grandfather Moss. We'll talk about in a minute. Okay. Ed Hicks. And then some of y'all might remember Miss Jeanette Ferris, loved her to death. This Mary Jenkins Ferris right here to the right, a very interesting lady. Mary Jenkins Ferris. Go to Farristown Middle School, they have a picture of her up. A beautiful woman, beautiful painting. Yes, she did have blue eyes. And that comes from that Jenkins Irish descent. I'm actually kin to her on my father's side. Very beautiful. She looks really sophisticated, but she's actually pretty dang handy. You know, Joseph Speed, her husband, died early, you know, so she didn't do a lot herself. She even, she was so handy, she built onto her own house. She built onto her own kitchen. You know, so she didn't really need a man like that, you know. Next slide. Moss Ferris. And Moss Ferris, let me tell you, his name still rings in Farristown. Looking for a stone face there. He's got a little smirk, but he's got a great sense of humor. He had one of the biggest farming operations there in Farristown. He sold milk to Southern Belle. Okay, so he's very respected, very knowledgeable, knew how to build. His grandkids said that he knew how to invent things. But he only had a third grade education. He didn't know how to really read or write. He could write his name, but that was it. He was really known for training horses. You talk to a lot of folks, black and white, in Farristown. That's what they say. Moss is known for his training his horses, you know, show horses. But he couldn't show his show horses because of the color of his skin. He did have ribbons, but he would have white folks to show his horses for them. But again, they still talk about him to this day. This is one of my favorite pictures. This is Moss Ferris. That's their son, Buddy, who's also passed away. And his wife, Mary Jenkins Ferris. They're on Mayview Road. As you're crossing the railroad tracks, you're leaving the factory. That little railroad crossing, that's that bridge right there. Everybody thinks Farristown only had like one wooden bridge. We actually had two. I vaguely remember this when I was a kid. But that was his farm. He owned all of that right there. Had a big operation. His wife, Mary Rice Ferris, I need a whole other presentation for her. You can Google her right now. She's done a lot for civil rights, a lot for civil rights, a lot for Appalachia. Okay, she was very, very involved with Washington, D.C. She was talking to, she was on Donald Russell's board, and she did a lot for the community, got a lot of blacks and folks to vote. A lot of people didn't know that. She was known as the Avon lady. I guess she sold Avon products. But, Mary Rice Ferris said, I don't want my flowers now. I'm gonna get my flowers in the past. And that's what happened. There's actually a book that I got right here. All of this marvelous potential. In chapter 10, there's about Mary Rice Ferris called Black and Proud. It talks about how Robert Kennedy came in contact with Mary Rice Ferris. And they talk about Farristown in this book too. All right, still talking about Charlie Ferris. Now we're going to go to Wendell and Estella Ferris, his other kids from his second wife, Betty Cornelison. In the crowd, we have Donovan Ferris Quinton, a cousin of mine. It's actually their grandparents. Okay, actually their grandparents right there. But Charlie was Wendell's father. Wendell worked hard. He was a farmer. He was known for that. Stella fed a lot of people in the community. She fed a lot of people. She was a really good cook. She would help people out from other communities that didn't have anything. She would tell her family, she would say, you never know what we're gonna have for dinner. You never know what we're gonna have for breakfast. She cooked for everybody. That's just how we were. Frederick and Emma Watts. Outside of the Ferris family, a lot of descendants actually came from these two, okay? And they happen to be my third great grandparents right there. Frederick Watts was born in November 19th, 1841. He passed in January 1901. Emma Watts, his wife, was a miller. She passed away in 1936. She was born in 1850. Both of them are buried in the Farristown Cemetery. So I'm going to talk about that later, but a lot of headstones are in that cemetery are damaged. I can't find him anywhere. But I did find the remains of Emma's headstones here recently. Frederick was also a Civil War veteran. Together they had 3 girls. One of them was my great-grandmother, Hattie Watts, who married a Bennett, Margaret Miller, and Lucy Watts, who married a Martin. Those ladies went off and they had large families in Farristown. Lucy Watts, born in 30 May 1888, passed on 12 July 1963. That's her husband, James Martin, born 1884, passed in 1940. Okay, James was a really hard worker, loved his family. Together they had 13 kids, and all of them grew in Farristown. James Sr. was actually a superintendent for the Sunday school at Farristown. But other than that, he worked hard. Lucy Martin, she took care of the house. Hey, Lucy. She was very, very community oriented. She was a member of the Mary Workers Club. That's their daughter, Ethel Meriwether. I mentioned her earlier. And Ethel is the longest living descendant of Farristown. She's the oldest. She'll be 97 years old in March. But I'm gonna go ahead and let her tell you about Farristown. Turn this on real quick. Bear with me. remember about the Farristown community as a whole? What do you remember about just Farristown, the community as a whole?
I think as a whole, the people there, I think everybody kind of, they had their individual families, but as a whole, there was togetherness, you know, things that you would get together and do. And as a whole, it was, I think, the Farristown family, they were just closer. I think that you were individual families, but you were close. You were close, you know, with working with the church and other activities, whatever, you know, came up, you know, to where that you could be together. And it was a good relationship.
And y'all share things too. Y'all would share things. Families would share things.
Sure.
You said your mother was she quilted. Your mother did quilts and things.
Oh yeah, they did quilts and did a lot of sewing. And you know, just as far as going out buying clothes and all like that, you know what I mean? They would make clothes, you know, and do the quilting. And a lot of times the ladies in the they would come together, just like my mother would have a quilt going. A lot of times some of the other people would come in and work with a quilt too, you know, and it was closer, you know, closeness. And then with the ladies there, they had a Merry Workers Club.
Yes, ma'am.
They had a Merry Workers Club. And just when all the ladies was a member of that club, it's just like a certain time, you know, they'd be in different homes. And you know, I think there was a closeness. I think there was close and sharing.
All right. Went up there to Cincinnati. She's sweet. I got these Farristown hoodie shirts that I made, trying to raise money for the community. I gave her one. She was so happy. She was tickled to death. She said, I love my Farristown shirt. You know, so you can tell by the picture she was happy, man. She's a good friend. Not only my cousin, good friend right there. Ballard family, also spoke with them, and the Ballards are an integral part of Brick College. The Ballards actually they did come with John Fee to Brick College, and the Ballards actually helped build a lot of the buildings at Brick College. If you go to Brick College, you'll see a Ballard name. Their father was Reverend Alonzo Ballard. I tell you, probably one of the greatest men that I know. Had just a warm spirit. Did a lot for the community. Did a lot for Berea College. He passed in 1994. His wife there was Fanny Ballard. That's them there in the bottom. And kind of what they would do is they would take their daughters and they would go on YMCA camps. And they would sing at the camps. They would cook meals. This is before they was integrated. So they was really responsible to help integrate those YMCA facilities. Miss Fanny Ballard, their mother, she got a church crown on. Like her mother, Lucy Martin, who we talked about earlier, very, very community oriented. Miss Fanny was actually a member of the Church United. They would go around Berea restaurants, helping to integrate. So they did a lot for the community. Miss Fanny Ballard, you heard through this lesson, we talked about the Merry Workers Club. She was actually the youngest member of the Merry Workers Club. And there's the Merry Workers Club right there. Organized in 1930 and was active to the mid 1960s. You know, these ladies were all in Farristown, but some of them went to other sister churches. There's Fanny Ballard right there. Beautiful, she looked young. I didn't know half of these people before I started the project. The only person I knew was my great grandmother right there, Nancy. Okay. For out some people, that's Estella. We talked about her earlier. We cook for everybody. Okay. Come over here. We got Lucy Martin right here. Okay. And this is Mary Jenkins Ferris, the woman in the portrait. But they did a lot for the community. The primary thing that they needed to do was maintain the Farristown Cemetery. They also went out, they took care of folks, they prayed for folks, took care of the sick, took care of the elderly. There was a big thing back then, back in Farristown. They really stick together. And they would have meals in each other's houses. And when they did it pretty big. They'll break out the finest silverware, and it was very sophisticated when they ate at each other's house. It was A.J. Baxter. Looking about somebody wealthy in Farristown, it was definitely him. He went to Berea College up until the day law happened, and then he went to Wilberforce. Joella, his wife there, was also went to Berea College, and he accumulated a lot of wealth. That barn behind him I believe is still there, right, cousin? I think that barn is still there. Not 100% sure how he got his wealth, but he owned a lot of land. He says his land still owns land in Farristown to this day. He even opened up his own store. He opened up his own general store right there in Farristown. This is the Baxter General Store. And he started this store to help people, give people opportunities. Matter of fact, he was the only store in Berea that would give farmers credit. So all the community members, black and white, would go to the Baxter store. Some of y'all here might remember the Baxter store. They said they got the best bologna. So people from out of state would come to this Baxter store and get the bologna. I'm not a bologna eater like that, but it must have been really, really good. But a lot of folks went here, and a lot of young folks went here too. There was abilities inside, and people go and play pool. Young folks used to go out in front and shoot marbles. The kids that went to Middletown School, that's one of the bus stops there. So they would be there. They would be at the old bridge. So that was just a nice little hangout. Everybody remembers the Baxter store. All right, you get to my family. All right, I won't be on them too long. Okay, but again, I'm from my grandmother's side. I'm a descendant of a white. Okay, and this is that man sitting down is Sam Pep White. Looks dark skinned, as you can tell by his hair. You know, it's got some, biracial in him. Okay, and then you got Lucy Bly sitting down, his wife. This is my great grandparents. She was a Bly, and she married him, became white. This man right here, bald head, GT. Out of everybody in this picture, he's the only one living. I'm going to talk about him in a minute. I went to Orlando to visit him. My great grandmother Nancy, my grandmother who raised me, Pauline, and Nancy's brothers are right there. It's my great grandmother Nancy and my great grandfather David. I won't be on them too long. I mean, we didn't own a store, we went into politics. They're really good people. Sorry, my great grandfather, stand-up guy, nicest guy, very, very calm demeanor. He never really spanked his kids or got on to them or really mean to them. He'll just tell them, hey, son, you know that ain't right. Now, Nancy, on the other hand, she was strict. All right. She's very loving, but she's very, very strict. But he's sitting on that porch of the old house that I grew up on. All right. Like I said, that's GT. It's my uncle that I went to go see and did the narration with him. He was in that picture with the bald head. Go ahead and play his audio. Bear with me, won't be too long.
What do you remember? Remember about your childhood growing up in Farristown? There's mainly all good things that I can remember. I don't recall any real bad things that happened in Farristown. And we were all more or less loving family throughout the community. I knew practically all the blacks that lived in Farristown and a few whites that lived in
Farristown, and Robert, I could name practically every one of them by their name, their parents and children, because a lot of the children we played together, went to school together, and it was really good little country town. Everybody loved each other, had beautiful relationship between all the black folks that lived in Farristown, and I had one Baptist church there that we all went to church, Sunday school, and BYP, Baptist Young People's Union, and it was really enjoyable.
All right, I'm gonna stop it there. For that Marco GT, yeah, very still sharp as a tack. He left at a young age. He grew up in Farristown and left for the Air Force, and did a lot of time overseas and ended up staying in Orlando. All right, this next Seals family narration. I'm not gonna play any more audio, but this is the Seals family. Again, we're an interracial community. Sheila, she got her Farristown hoodie on. There on the left, Sister Barbara, Jetta, David. You know what I noticed is talking to these families, not really a lot of difference between us as far as our values and honesty and the hard work and the things that we was taught in Farristown. And they lived it. They was poor. They came, they went born with a silver spoon in their mouth. They actually stayed in the house that Joella and Arthur Baxter owned. Very good people. Seals family, a lot of good laughs when we was doing an interview. They remember going to the Baxter store and farming together and all that good stuff. So they was really religious people as well. Again, they was poor, but it's one of those things they didn't know they was poor because their values are so high. They had 11 children. That's all the children were not so children. They're older now. But it's all them beautiful family. They're still close. All of them are really close. I'm about to wrap it up soon. It's going to kind of go through this really fast. It's kind of getting late. Farristown homecoming. Farristown homecoming. What is that? Farristown homecoming was commonly known as the rally. The primary purpose was to have a reunion church service for all descendants and family. Everyone was invited. The rally was a big thing even when I was a kid. That's all we talked about. Even, like I said, as a kid, and I can't wait for the rally. We got a lot of folks coming in. It's held every third Sunday of the year, but family gatherings would start Friday and would celebrate through the weekend. Church service would go from mornings to about 5 p.m. 6 p.m. So a lot of cookouts on that Saturday. So folks got to watch it. Can't drink too much. You got to go to church next morning. Sister churches and other black families would have homecomings too, but on different days. Farristown Baptist is the only church left that still holds tradition. It's not big like it was. COVID, where a lot of folks has kind of passed away and moved off and stuff like that, but we still try to do it and try to bring it back. And here's some of the pictures from the Farristown rally. These are kind of the Sunday celebrations, okay? And all that happened on the main strip. Like if you was on Chapel Road or on my family's land, we'll have a little, about 5 of us have something on the grill, but I always go to the main strip because there's a lot of families in cars or just parked up the road. There's two sides of it. You got the Ferris here, and you got on top, you got the Muncie families, okay, the Martin families. They would have competitions. Who got the biggest crowds? Who got the best food and things like that. You'll go on all day till the evening. I was trying to get this article down here from the Richmond Register. There's an article that they wrote on our Farristown homecoming. A lot of good times. Some more family gatherings during the Farristown rally weekend. All right, so kind of what I've been working on. A lot of history that we talked about. I'm about to wrap it up. I want to leave you with this. I'm working on a Farristown preservation project. I think that history needs to be told. I was in the Navy my last 2 years before I retired, You know, when I grew up, I knew what the community was, but there's a lot of stuff I didn't know. You know, even going through the school, we barely heard about John Fee and things like that. So I'm very, very interested in the family and preserving that. Berea is growing, and the industries are kind of moving in. And it's like, man, you're gonna grow over that community, that Black hamlet, that historic. I mean, you look at Middletown and Bartown and other Black hamlets that I named, a lot of this is kind of non-existent anymore. But Farristown has actually got its natural landscape and still got some of the things. I wrote a letter to the mayor, heartfelt letter, and he gave me a call, and we had a really good conversation. He's been working with me and trying to work with the city to try to come up with ideas to get that thing done. That's one of the reasons I'm doing the oral history narration. Here's the things that I'm working on. We're going to have a community welcome sign. Welcome to historic Farristown. I've been raising money for it. You know, I'm not a shady person, anything like that. All the travel that I've done is out of my own pocket. All the money I raised is still in the bank. I track every cent. All right. We're working on the cemetery preservation. I wish I had pictures of that. But it was overgrown. After the Married Workers Club, I mean, it was just not taken care of. And I've seen some family members walk through all these high weeds, just laying flowers on Memorial Day. I said, I got to do something about this. So then my sons went out there with the zero turn and we cut it down and try to preserve it. I've had help. We are looking to do more because if the city is going to build through there, we want to have something to see. Okay, all those descendants. Farristown school engagement. I'm talking about the middle school. Got Farristown Middle School. A lot of kids, you know, they probably don't understand Farristown or how's it started. So I got with the principal and got with some other folks that are the historical society they got in their school. And they're very interested in what we're doing too. We have a lot of help. But those students need to know, you know, what do you know about the school that you're going to? Named after the community that you're going to. You know, how do we teach these kids? So I'm trying to come up with ideas, and I will come up with ideas to engage those students. Okay, maybe we can do indoctrination with the incoming sixth graders and stuff. And just have, you know, maybe we can feed the kids and talk about Farristown so they'll have a better understanding. My prayer is that we have this dedication part, the walking trails with interpretive markers in Farristown displays. So it's our history and everything is always going to be there. That's important. Did a family community meeting. We actually did two. This is the second one. And this is kind of where I got together. We was talking about all the preservation ideas and stuff that I wanted to do. Not everybody's there from Farristown. Mayor Fraley, he came to support. Berea Home Village, the organization that takes care of the elderly. They put in for the Lee's chicken. And, I mean, we had a good time, had a good meeting. It was kind of big, but this is the welcome to historic Farristown. I said I already got the money, I already got the sign, I got all that stuff ready to go. I'm waiting on the encroachment permit to put it down. Never mind that EST 1890. So we're still kind of researching that. There's going to be a stone block around. It's going to be very, very nice when it's done. Like I said, I was talking about school engagement. We're talking about Mary Rice Fairs. This is the Madison County Historical Society Chris out in Farristown. And I was telling him about Mary Rice, and he printed those. He hung some of the library. So again, that's when we're talking about student engagement, that's where we're starting right there. Almost wrapping it up. There's my cousin right there, but we was you know, just trying to, you know, talking to him and stuff like that. We was walking the cemetery and we kept walking. This is the 87 acres. This is where all these houses used to be at. And some of the remains that we found. And when I took this picture, this moment right here, he looked and he said, man, we really lived here, man. We had all this beautiful land, man. We had this. I said, yeah. You know, it's kind of disappearing now. It's gone. You know, but after the rain, the sunshine comes up. But the best sunsets are in Farristown. Man.